I have seen the concerns for Mr. Mydei. Right? I've seen the concerns for Mr. Mydei, which is essentially this thing, the full autoplay feature, right? The full autoplay feature, right? There has been quite a bit of a concern. Essentially, the way it works is this, right? His performance on... Oh, you're right. He's an Autobot. He's literally an Autobot. His performance as a... during this auto is really, really good. But the thing is, do we need it? That's the thing. I said it in my own video. I feel like because Starrail already has like such a limited amount of moveset, it doesn't really change anything in terms of like whether or not Mydei is auto or not auto. Because the thing is, right, casual players, they are gonna auto anyways. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Casual players are just gonna press one button anyways, with or without the auto button. So everything's just gonna be auto regardless. And then the players that don't want the auto, they will find themselves like, why does Mydei have this auto? Whether or not Mydei's performance during auto is good or not, that is a different topic. This is whether or not the auto itself should have been implemented in Clip. Me personally, I think having more control, it does make the game a little bit, even though it doesn't really technically change anything. Because I've mentioned that the way his auto works is that it is basically the same as your fun button auto, right? It is basically they force you into this fun button. He will always target or prioritize elites or bosses, unless either it's because of a blast targeting, then he has to hit the guy in the middle for the highest multiplier, or if the mob has like a super high HP percentage and he went with the mob, right? So you can see over here, there was this example that I showed somewhere around here. Okay, yeah, that's one. Okay, notice this, chat. Notice this. Okay, you see this? From this angle specifically, right? You would have wanted Mydei to aim the elite, therefore killing him. But there are two potential reasons why he didn't. One reason was potentially this guy, if you look closely, his HP percentage was higher than that of the elite. Alright. His HP percentage was higher than that of the elite. And the second reason might be, because this is not proved by the way, it might be also because he saw 3 targets in the middle, and he always wants to hit 3 targets in order to make full use of his multiplier. So I think these are two potential conditions which will override Mydei's auto aiming the elite instead of the guy that you actually want to hit. And when these kind of situations pop up, it wouldn't be too good. Because I do feel the need to kind of talk about it a little bit, because I think players might be a little bit not talking about the right thing. It's not that Mydei sucks during auto, right? His performance is still very good. I this entire early access for like, I think I did the B-roll footage for like almost 1 hour plus. Every single team, every single B-roll with Ranmei, with Barbin, with RMC, with something, every single team, it was done with full auto. And to no one's surprise, right now, the performance with his full auto is exceptional, right? He's basically at most 3 cycle clear, at most. Every single team off element, on element, every single side is at most 3 cycle clear, right? So I think I've listed his performance somewhere around here. Yep. So current MOC 1 cycle True Zone, 3 cycle Nikador, and the next cycle 3 cycle Flame River, 1 cycle card. This was on complete full auto on everything. So the performance is not an issue, right? The performance is not an issue, especially since if players are really casuals and you do play HSR with casual mode or like the fun button mode, this is not a problem. The problem is whether or not, if you don't want to auto, and then these kind of situations happen where the guy aims instead of aiming the elite. So this is the ideal world, right? This is the ideal, and this should be the case every single time. He would always prioritize the elite because that is how the auto system functions the same as the game. But for some very, very niche situations, it doesn't happen. So I think it's somewhere around here. Okay, I think it's this one over here, right? So Mydei casts ultimate on the elite. But the unfortunate thing is, the ultimate only focuses Godslayer be gods, or the basically the enhance skill. It doesn't change the targeting of your Kingslayer, right? So even if we had that, we already aimed this guy with Mydei's ultimate. When Sunday pulls bro up, because of the way the HP looks like right now in this specific scenario, he ended up not aiming this guy, despite us seeing the ultimate. So this is a very, very specific scenario in which Mydei might aim the wrong guy. And because we aimed the guy in the middle over here, luckily for us, we still dealt enough damage, I believe. So we still kind of cleared. Luckily for us, we still dealt enough damage. But if in the future scenarios where we didn't deal enough damage, then that would be an issue, right? That would be an issue. Oh wait, chat. I take it back. Chat, I take it back. Chat, I take it back. It didn't deal enough damage. The guy lived with 1 HP. So yeah, this is the problem that I'm talking about. Whether or not his actual performance is fine is not really up for debate because it is fine. The problem is whether this auto system should even be in place in the first place. And I think that is a little bit... me personally, I even said this in my video, I don't really like it. Because if I was somebody that pulled for Mydei, right, I do want to, especially considering Mydei's banner placement. Because if you guys have forgotten, the very similar situation actually happened to one of our banners back then. In version 2. Do you guys remember? Mr. Booty Cheeks, right? Mr. Booty Cheeks, because his banner situation was right before Firefly, right? And it led to a lot of people downplaying his kit. Myself included, by the way. Myself included. Because he needs more optimization. You need to speed to him more better. You need to learn when to use his pocket trick shots and when to use his ultimate. And it took a while before people realized that actually 4-piece ego was his best in slot instead of just Firefly. Back then, anyways, you press the fun button and it kind of just goes. So Mydei, I feel like bro's banner placement, it sort of forces him in a situation where you are right before the anniversary banner unit. There's Caceres and Anexa. And anniversary banners for pretty much every single gacha game, usually they quite literally they change everything, right? And having this auto mechanic being built into Mydei, it doesn't make him unplayable. It doesn't make him a shit unit, but it also wouldn't make him that much better if they took away auto. You know what I'm saying? Like, having this auto on him, I feel like it doesn't really do anything but to potentially lead to a situation like this, which is you literally cannot control his enhanced skill. You can only control his enhanced skill. And for some scenarios where these things happen, that's when you would have, in this case, I quite literally lost one cycle over here, right? I quite really lost one cycle over here. Another example that might be really, really bad. It's not demonstrated over here because for all of the current MOC, we don't really feel it, but think about it next time, right? Right now, we are in a scenario in which you are fighting a boss with mobs, alright? Because that is sort of like the erudition-based targeting, especially the main target, and then they spawn all of the mobs outside. But what if there comes a world in which you have to prioritize the minions first? So for example, Nikado Avocado is potentially a good example because technically if you were to break his spears first, it's 13.5% of his max HP, and if you break all 4 spears, that is a shit ton of max HP. So it would probably be better if we had a little bit more control in scenarios where you actually want to hit. If in the future it comes a scenario where the AI can no longer differentiate the prioritization between whether or not you want to kill the elite or you want to kill the mobs first, that's when I think Mydei's autoplay would be very, very annoying to deal with. Because even though you can control where you want his enhanced skill to hit to a certain extent, which is you aim with your ultimate and your EE skill follows up on whatever your ultimate hits, your enhanced skill will never change in terms of the AI priority, right? It will always follow up based on the same logic in which the current fun button is enabling, which is most of the time prioritizing elites. If it's not prioritizing elites, then there are some situations where if the HP percentage of this guy is higher, or if there are 3 targets, then Mydei will aim the guy in the middle just to deal the highest number of multiplier possible, which leads to a scenario like this, right? So I am a little bit concerned that this happened, and if you really, really want to be thinking about it, right? Think about it a little bit better. How do you solve this problem? You kill the mobs faster than you kill the elites. And this unit, right beside Mydei, is pretty much one of the best supports in terms of killing the mobs because of its chip damage, right? Tassante's chip damage, Tassante's focal point, the AI smart targeting to focus back into the elites. Eventually, if you play Mydei with Tassante in the same team for long enough, the mobs will eventually die. Because of all of the follow-ups, all of the ultimates, all of the AoEs and everything, eventually the mobs will still die. If you did not have Tassante, so you are using a Mydei Sunday, let's just say like a Runmei, or even Robin, right? You wouldn't really have a good way of dealing with the mobs at that point of time any longer. The alternative is this thingy right here. This Eidolon 1 straight up changes his enhance skill into an erudition based targeting. The difference of this skill, it quite literally, this changes everything. Because you go from a destruction 3 target based enhance skill from 616 multiplier, that's 1 main target and 2 adjacent, to 1515% multiplier, literally more than doubling for all the targets, assuming that we have 5 targets to hit. So this E1 would be diabolically good for Mydei to kind of alleviate the situations in which you actually do not want him to hit the elite first and you actually want to clear all of the mobs. Right? You actually want to clear all the mobs. But in this current format, in this current environment right now, the endgame content that I tested Mydei with, you don't really feel it. You actually don't feel the impact of this E1 that much because as of right now, the most we've gotten in the next MOC 12 is going to be 3 elites. And technically, 3 elites are still quite okay for Mydei. Because most likely Mydei is going to aim the guy in the middle. If it's not the guy in the middle, then he's just going to aim either of the elites and it's still going to be fine. But in the future, if it's going to become a scenario where it's either like one boss, so only a single main target with 4 spawns, such as Nicator's a spear, and you want to kill the spears or the equivalent extremely quickly, or they spawn like 4 elites or 5 elites, that's when it might be you will feel the impact of this Eidolon 1. As of this current point, I would say it might not be that crazy because this only applies to your God Slayer Begot. Alright, this only applies to your enhance skill, which you can technically already control with your ultimate. It doesn't affect your King Slayer, it doesn't affect your anything else, right? It's only for the enhance skill, right? Which is why the final damage increase of this Eidolon 1 is not that crazy. It's definitely not a 30% final damage increase, which would be the case for most multiplayer. It is probably, I would say, half. So maybe 15% or maybe even less, depending on how quickly can you get this God Slayer Begot. So this kind of boils us back down to this interesting situation. Mydei having this built-in auto scale targeting system, while his performance now is still really, really good, I am a little bit concerned if it will still be this case as the environment shifts. Considering his banner placement right now is in between Tribi, which is right now one of, if not the most universal support we have in the game, and the next banner that is going to be Cassius and NXR, it's a little bit hard to really justify, okay, you go all in for Mydei. Alright, so that's gonna be the Mydei auto battle situation. Oh yeah, and in case you guys are wondering if you should choose S1 or E1, you definitely choose S1. Okay, at least I feel that S1 is better because his S1 literally works like an Aircron signature icon because of the 6% charge, right? Because of the 6% charge from the thingy, you actually gain a lot of value from this thing because you can build up this charge more frequently, which means you cast your enhance skill more frequently. So technically, and also it's cheaper, right? Technically it's cheaper, so I would say E0 S1 is better than E1 S0. One final thing before I kind of bounce and leave you guys your thoughts if whether or not this is gonna be good, which is gonna be, are you guys prepared to run Mydei in the environments in which he might not be too good in? And I feel like this question needs to be 慎重考虑, right? You need to kind of think about it because being on element is great, right? It's great, but if you were just on element, because okay, technically speaking, we don't really have a lot of other erudition, not really erudition, sorry, we don't really have a lot of imaginary DPS. It's basically just Mydei, Rare Bar is Break, and then we have E2 Tail. right? That is kind of just pretty much it. So if in the future, when there are more ways in which the environment can benefit beyond just matching the colors, such as if you were to talk about Mydei, you want to fine-tune this process of improving his rotations without getting limited by how can you get around this limitation, because let's just be real, it is technically a limitation. I don't really see a way to put it, but the thing is, despite this limitation, which is the full auto gameplay, sort of, aside from his ultimate, he still performs very, very well. But that is for now, right? And in the future, if you wanna vertically invest, because I feel like that is kind of the way you build team comps in honkaistarrail anyways, you do need to vertically invest in a team to make them basically last, right? And I think that's pretty fair. It's not just for Mydei, it is pretty much for every single DPS in HSR. You kind of need to vertically invest to make sure that they don't get power crap by the next shiniest new thing, right? So for a case of Mydei, how would you do this, especially considering his current banner placement? It's honestly a little bit awkward. There's like a whole boot hill scenario all over again. So that is gonna be my final thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And the word of the day is gonna be, watch our Pokemon Emerald Hardcore Nuzlocke right here at TV for this video game. You don't know we are gonna be playing our Nuzlocke right tomorrow. Very good, very nice. Enjoy that Discord. Very enjoy. All the best. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.